It may seem unlikely, but this picture, Hey Good Looking, and Rave, the picture hanging beside it, are based on the elaborate, methodical and detailed paintings of the 17th century classical French artist Poussin. After some preliminary drawings, it took artist and critic Martin Maloney only about 10 hours to paint each one, an approach he calls running a marathon.
Poussin is an acquired taste. He's the artist that you like after appreciating art for a long time. So that attracted me, that he was kind of difficult and he was very cool, he was considered rigorous and intellectual. And I suppose I wanted to be all those things. I borrowed his sense of composition. I didn't take his sense of colour, but I looked at mythological paintings that he had painted, and the idea of mythological painting seems incredibly obscure now. So I approached the subjects of the paintings as if they were something from a soap opera. So you didn't really have to know the characters. You didn't really have to know the events. It was the idea of making something that had a narrative that was an obvious narrative, almost a cartoon narrative that people could see when they're looking at Hey Good Looking, for example. It's a guy and there's two girls, and it's a kind of relaxed summer scene, and there's something going on. You don't really have to know it's the choice of Hercules, and Hercules is choosing between vice and virtue. But if you look closely at the girls, one looks like the girl next door. She has a Laura Ashley type blouse. She's carrying a basket. She has a small wrist watch, and she looks demure and slightly sexy. And then the other girl looks a little bit more cheap, a little bit more trashy. She's got a black mini skirt. She's with a baby. She's a pink fluffy top. She has a kind of blue scrunchie in her hair. She looks kind of extravagant, and she looks like she's out for a good time. So that seemed to be the cultural significance. You could recognize those two stereotypes from made-for-TV movies or advertising campaigns. I was asking the viewer to take the knowledge that they have from how things are pictured in the contemporary visual world and recognize them in the paintings that I was making. I don't think it's necessary to understand the mythology.
Some people have called Maloney's style naive, even awkward. To hear him explain it, press 231.
There seemed to be in the 20th century lineage for being able to work in a way that was simplistic. And my paintings borrow some of their graphic clarity from Beavis and Butthead and cartoon culture, and I wanted to mix that up with some of the painting gestures that had come from 20th century painting. I wanted a style that could accommodate bright colours and gestural marks and changing brushwork. Sometimes they're quite clumsy, and I realise that, but I don't see that as a disadvantage in making the paintings. I look at something and I think, oh well, you can recognise what that is. So in some ways it seems kind of democratic. If somebody thinks that their 11-year-old could have a go and do it, as an artist, I'm not kind of high and mighty and pretend I'm flawless in what I'm making. I'm asking the viewer to see I'm attempting to do things, and the simplicity of the attempt to convey what people, what emotions, what objects are is part of understanding the painting.